Hey everyone, if you're joining us, I'm admitting about 20 people right now, so it's going to take me a minute to get everybody in, and then we'll get started on our webinar tonight on a Saturday night. So glad so many people are able to join us. This is such an important topic. I'm really excited about it because as a mom myself, I'm trying to figure out what on earth my family is going to do after I figure out what my school district is going to do. So we're really excited for you guys to join us. Oh, more people. All right, so it's 7 o'clock my time. I'm going to go ahead and welcome everybody to the INA webinar Education in the COVID Era. This is part of our COVID support webinar series. We're really glad that you're here to join us. We've got some amazing presenters that are going to give you guys some really great information tonight. A couple of housekeeping notes before I sort of pass it over to them. My name is Marcia Hall. I'm the INA Executive Director, by the way. And I just want to let you know we're going to keep everybody on mute for the time being. We will open up the lines at the end if there's any additional questions. If you do have questions during the presentation, we definitely encourage those, but because we're going to have a pretty significantly big group, we want to encourage everybody to send in their questions via the chat bar. So if you're on the webinar on Zoom, you can look down at the bottom. There's a thing that says chat. You can click that and it'll pop up. And you can write the question to everybody and I'll kind of moderate those questions. But like I said, I know some people are on the phone. So if you can't access that chat bar, we will open up the lines at the end too, so you can ask questions then. But just because we've got, at this point, 30 participants, we had over 100 people that registered for this topic. So we just want to make sure that we, can hear everybody, so we're going to ask everybody to stay muted for the time being. So once again, this is Education in the COVID Era for those of you that just joined us and are still joining us. I'm going to let our speakers introduce themselves. First, I'm going to start with Darren Jones. Darren, would you introduce yourself for us?
Sure. My name is Darren Jones. I live in Virginia. I'm senior counsel with the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. I've been working with parents who teach their own kids for about 25 years now. And so I've worked with homeschoolers all across the United States and even a few in Canada because that's where my folks live. And tonight I'm here to answer questions about teaching other people's kids and some of the rules for that and some advice.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here, Darren. Heidi Joline, would you let us know who you are?
Yes, I am Heidi Joline. I am currently in Los Angeles, California, where I am a nanny to a wonderful little girl who is under a year old. And I was lucky enough to be the 2019 INA Nanny of the Year, and I passed it along this year. Yes, in a very different way, obviously, because we're all in this world. But I was very happy to pass it along to Nanny Kim. But I am here today because I like to help create lesson plans and curriculum for younger children. These would be your children that are under school age, so under 5, but also setting it up in a more flexible curriculum and schedule type of way that's more child-geared or child-led learning.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you for being here. And Bethany Schroeder, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Bethany Schroeder. I am actually Laura's daughter. I live in Washington, D.C. I am a 5th grade teacher. I teach reading, math, and writing at a school called Lab School of Washington, which is a school for children with learning disabilities. So we have been online since March, and I am here to answer any questions you guys might have about the online learning experience from the teacher's perspective.
That's awesome. I'm very excited to hear that because I know that I talk to a lot of people who are on the other side of it. So it's really great to have you here. And then Lara Schroeder, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm Lara Schroeder. I'm the president of the INA. I'm the mom of 3. This is my youngest. She's a master's level teacher, by the way. I'm a proud mom. She graduated with a 4.0 average. So, you know, proud mom. Anyway, I'm here to talk about everything that the other 3 can't answer. I've done a lot of research over the past couple weeks about these education pods that everybody is talking about raises, about all kinds of fringe things that go along with education in the COVID era. I am not an expert on anything. I want to lay that out there right now. So if I can't answer your question, I'll be more than happy to put a pin in it and do some more research and get back to you. But I am very interested in this topic as the mom of 3 and as the president of the INA. And I think it's important that we talk about this and talk about all the different levels and make sure we have the terminology correct when we talk about homeschooling versus virtual schooling versus enrichment. And so I want to get all the terminology correct and make sure that we're all on the same page and start answering some questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So for those of you who have just joined us, because I know there's a good number of people that I was sort of admitting as our hosts or our speakers were talking, we're going to keep everybody muted for right now. And if you have a question, which we absolutely encourage, this is going to be mostly a Q&A. We really, really want people to ask questions, but we have close to 40 participants now, and I think that there will be some more people joining us. So we want to try to make it as easily organized as possible. So please ask your questions in the chat bar, which is at the bottom of your screen. If you are on the phone or you cannot use the chat bar for whatever reason, please know we are going to open up unmute everybody at the end so that those people can answer or ask their questions too if they don't get answered throughout the course of the rest of the event. So again, my name is Marcia Hall. I'm the executive director of the INA, and I'm just here to moderate things for you guys. Our 4 experts, and I would say that they're all experts, even though Laura says she's not. She's being humble too. She's really an expert at a lot of things. So so again, education in the COVID era. We're going to go through our experts, our speakers, and they're just going to share a little tidbit of information for you guys to kind of start things off. But again, use that chat bar to ask questions. A couple questions came in previous that I will be asking too. So I'm going to start this one with Lara Schroeder. Lara, will you kind of share with us what you know?
Okay, so it's August 1st, right? And so we all know exactly what's going to happen come the fall, right? No, we don't. I hear it every day. People are scrambling. They don't know if school's going to open. And if it's going to open, is it going to be full days? Is it going to be every other day? Is it going to be virtual? And if it is open, are the families going to send their children to school? Do they feel safe? And as nannies, we're unsure. Are we going to be working at home? Are we going to be homeschooling our children? Are we going to be helping them with virtual education? And what do all those terms mean? And so I'm just going to be taking you through a couple of minutes of what my understanding is of all those terms. So there's a continuum, and I'm going to take you from the least amount of support to the most support. So as nannies, we all are to provide an educational environment and enrichment to our nanny children, to our charges. And that's something that we should be doing no matter what. So that's part of our jobs. So we should be teaching our children, whether, from birth to however old they are, we should be providing an enriching environment with lots of, educational type activities. So we're always outside and we're always learning about things no matter what we're doing. That is not anything more than what we should be doing anyway. Sometimes we offer a more complete curriculum, especially for our younger children. I do this with my children. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old that I take care of, and I offer a full curriculum for them. They might not know that I do because I try to do it in a play-based way, much like Heidi is going to talk about. But we learn all of our colors and our letters and our shapes through play, and we do all kinds of other things. And it's a full curriculum, so it's very much like a preschool environment, although they wouldn't necessarily know it's a preschool environment. The next level up would be educational support in a virtual learning environment. So much like Bethany teaches virtually, there's the people at home who are helping with the virtual environment. Some children pick up virtual learning very quickly, and there's very little you have to do at home. They, go up to their rooms, they do their virtual assignments, and there's very little you have to help with. On the other side of that, there's students that need lots of help with virtual schooling. They need a lot of help with perhaps the technical side, or perhaps being organized, or the next level up, they need a lot of supplementation. So they don't understand what they're learning virtually. So they might need extra help or extra activities that you might need to come up with yourself to help them to understand the assignments that they're giving virtually. Also, the virtual assignments are not always great. I'm sure Bethany's are really great because I know she's a great teacher, but some of the things that the schools provide are not super great. So sometimes we need to provide more supplementation on top of that. And then the most level of support would be actual homeschooling. You cannot say you're homeschooling unless you're actually providing the curriculum, doing everything yourself. You're actually in charge of the entire environment. You can purchase a curriculum, but you're actually the teacher. The school district isn't providing the curriculum. You are the head dog. I don't know a lot about homeschooling, and that's why Darren is here. He's going to help with all that. But I see a lot of people saying I'm homeschooling when they're really just helping with the virtual schooling that their school district is providing. So you might be doing a lot of work with education, but you can't actually say you're homeschooling unless you're actually homeschooling, which is a whole different animal, which Darren's going to talk about. So those are kind of the 5 different levels of schooling from the way I see it. And any of those options can be made into a pod. We hear about pods now all the time, and all a pod means is that more than one family decides to bond together and do that to help pool resources, to help pay for the teacher, or to help supplies and that kind of thing. So you hear a lot about the pods, and that's what that's about. That can be any level. That can be the lowest level all the way up to the homeschooling level. So that's all a pod means. It's like a nanny share if you're using a nanny. That's what a pod would be. So you're going to hear a lot more about pods going forward. And I know Lara Brawley is here, and she's working on something about pods. So look for that at Nanny Care Hub to come. So I don't have a lot of time to talk, but I have lots of more things that I've learned about legal issues and safety issues and raises and that kind of thing. So when you have questions, that's what I will be here for.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lara. I wanted to let everybody know too that that our speakers actually had quite a bit of resources that they gave us, and I had to put it in a couple of sections because it wouldn't let me copy and paste the entire list. So you'll find that in the chat bar as well, and they may reference some of those things, but those will be there. And for those of you that are listening, they'll be in when we post this on YouTube afterwards, they'll be in the description of the workshop there. So I'm going to go ahead and let Bethany talk a little bit and share with us some of the information that she has to give you.
Okay, so with virtual learning, there are a lot of drawbacks, and one big one that I have noticed with my students is emphasis on their social emotional well-being. A lot of students, they really thrive with the social interactions that they get from school and the positive reinforcements that they get from their teachers and hands-on manipulatives and things to that nature. So thinking about distance learning, trying to provide some of those things in the best way possible for them. So making sure that you are supporting the child's social emotional well-being, making sure you are checking in with their needs as their nanny. I'm sure you know them better than their teachers might even sometimes. So understanding the child's needs, not placing so much of a focus on the academic, more focused on the child's needs. So if the child needs a break, allowing them to take a break. if the child is feeling frustrated, working through those frustrations and understanding that their needs and their feelings, and giving them the resources to talk with you about those. With the social, maybe providing them with virtual play dates, setting them up with other kids in their school so they can still have that interaction, and giving them those positive reinforcements so that they are feeling like this academic task isn't something completely daunting and that they are doing a good job. And then in their environments, making sure to provide a comfortable but distraction-free environment where they have a space where they have all their materials, and they don't have pets or they don't have siblings that are distracting them, and they feel like they can place their focus all on their work. And then again, like I said, making sure just to kind of, as much as you can, providing some kind of hands-on experience. It can be very fatiguing just sitting in front of a screen all day. I mean, Zoom fatigue is real. I'm sure you guys have all felt it. Just sitting in front of a computer and a screen, it can be very tiring. So in any way possible, connecting real world experiences to their academics, using manipulatives for math, writing creative stories, connecting to their interests so that they are getting this academic experience away from the screen as well. And then also with that, creating a schedule and emphasizing some executive functioning skills. I know something that a lot of my students have struggled with is just knowing when to sign on, when to turn in an assignment, what to prioritize. And those are things that they get in the classroom through their teacher, but if they don't have their teacher right in front of them, they might not have that as easily accessible. So helping the student to make checklists, to create a schedule that works with them and works with your activities, and working with those executive functioning skills to support their classwork. And I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Bethany. Heidi, would you like to share some information before we start getting to some of the questions that are coming in?
Sure. Mine is more obviously on the younger side, but with that, we still had a lot of children who, whether they were 3 or 4 or 5 in that age group, who had to stop their preschool suddenly and then switch to Zoom learning. A lot of these parents who didn't do a lot of screen time before now are putting their children in front of that screen a lot more. And so I think there's a balance. You need to have the regular hands-on playing with the child. So if the nanny is doing that, you also need to implement then, if you're still continuing with your preschool. I know in my area, a lot of the preschool, the teachers are still setting up lesson plans. They're just doing it via Zoom, and it's not all day. It's a very short part of the day, and they do stories and songs where they can still see their teachers. But then you need to incorporate other things, and you still need to be on that schedule. You need to wake up and get dressed. You need to make sure you're doing the proper hygiene, especially for the younger ones. If your children are even younger, just having the good playtime. Learning is play, and you get a lot of learning from just doing your everyday life and continuing that, especially with your younger ones. And keeping it as stress-free as possible. Obviously, if we are a nanny and we're coming into the home every day, making sure that you have those things planned out for the day, the week, or the month. That could just be like normal before the pandemic. You know, you should have had these things already set. You should have had your schedule and your curriculum or lesson plan, however you do it, already done. So this is just an easy transition. You just now having to fill in those gaps of my charge is not going to swim class anymore, my charge is not going to gym class, or we're not going to see friends. So you just have to kind of play with that schedule a little bit more, but keep things as the same as possible. Also, make sure that you're including the parents. I know that this comes up a lot with parents working from home. We're working in the homes with the parents a lot more. I think including the parents in what you're doing is helpful, because the child's in a different world right now. And including the parents in what you're doing and showing that you're a team for a younger child is going to help them emotionally. So that's my thing on it.
Excellent. Thank you, Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, what would you like to share with us before we start answering some of the questions coming in?
Okay. So the first question that I often get asked is homeschooling actually legal? And the answer to that is yes. Every one of the 50 states, parents can teach their own kids. The next question is, can someone else beside the parent teach the kids and call it homeschooling? The answer in most states is yes. There are some states where you might have to have a bachelor's degree or be a certified teacher. And in a lot of states, the parents are the ones it's their responsibility to file the paperwork. It's not your responsibility as the instructor. So on that kind of scale that Laura talked about with the different options, I'm much more familiar with the homeschooling scale and can answer lots of questions about that. When it comes to if you're getting your curriculum and the schedule set by the public school virtually or something like that. I have some practical things because my wife and I have been homeschooling for 14 years now, but as Laura said, we're homeschooling. I choose the curriculum. I actually just ordered some of our books yesterday. My wife and I team teach. So this hasn't affected our world as much as it has a lot because our kids are used to doing their school at home. As far as the homeschool pods or the micro schools or whatever the terminology is now, I just heard pods a couple weeks ago for the first time. That is legal in almost every state, and there are a couple though where the Department of Education kind of looks down on that. For example, New York and North Carolina. But if you're going to be the one responsible for setting that up, there are some things you're going to want to think about. And one of the resources that I sent out, you can look at the link. It's called, Can You Hire a Tutor and Call It Homeschooling? And it talks about some of the issues. If you're going to be having kids getting together on a regular basis for instruction, in some states that's called daycare and there may be licensing requirements, and in some it's not. It's just a bunch of kids getting together. And in some states there's going to be issues with fire code and others could care less. So another one of the links that I had them send out was the link to where to find your state's law on homeschooling. That'll give you a good summary anyway. And if you're interested in more information, that's something that our organization answers questions for all the time. So that's, but again, I would just end by saying kind of an encouraging thing. My wife and I are both products of homeschooling. We graduated from it. We've done it with our kids and have graduated our oldest. We've still got 3 more to go. Homeschooling can really be a blast. I mean, I like teaching, and the more flexibility you have in working with the parents to determine what kind of things are we going to work with the kids this year. I mean, I think this is fun. I love it when our homeschooling year starts.
Excellent. Thank you so much, all 4 of you guys, for sharing that information. So I'm going to jump into some of the questions that we have, and I'm going to start with a couple questions that were sent in before the webinar. The first one is about preschool curriculum. And it basically says, I'm interested in the right kind of curriculum education activities along with the required social, physical, emotional, and cognitive areas. The preschool, and this is preschool basically focused. What kind of curriculum do you suggest? And I think, like I had told the speakers before, obviously any 4 of them may have answers for that, but Heidi, since you work a lot with preschoolers, I was wondering if you could tackle this question.
Yes, that question I know that they were saying there were 3 to 4. It depends on if it's from the nanny or the parent, because you're going to have to follow the parent's lead. If the child is already registered in a preschool ahead of time, go with what the preschool if they're going to continue the preschool, go with what they're doing, and then your time as the nanny should be more based on play learning. I wouldn't do any more than that. Let the teachers during that Zoom, and ask the questions to the teachers, or if the parents want to ask the questions to the teachers that they're with, how can we expand on what we're learning? Like if we want to expand on our letters and our numbers, work on that. If the child's not in a preschool type of setting yet, continue doing child-led learning and playing. I wouldn't be focusing on the flashcards and things like that. If you're going to be learning the letters and the numbers, use what's in your environment. If you're walking down the street, find letters in a sign, find colors on a car or on a tree or on a person. I wouldn't be forcing a child to learn something by sitting them down and forcing it. Children are going to learn by example and by play. So play with them, and they're going to learn it eventually. Every child is different. I do create lesson plans for the children that I work with. I also lead a nanny lesson plan group that we try and talk about different activities, but every child is different. So to gear one curriculum or lesson plan for a child that young is really hard, because every child's mentality and maturity is not also tied to their age. It can be a curriculum that says for a 3 to 4 year old, but that does not mean your child's ready for that yet, or maybe they're past that. I think it's just going to be playing with what you find out there, but definitely at a younger age, just let it be more about play. Yes, Laura.
Oops, I'm muted. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you so much. Anyone else, any of the other speakers want to add? I see Darren's hand up and I see Laura's hand up. I'll let you guys both. Darren, go ahead.
Okay, just a short thing. The things that I remember my mom and dad doing with me when I was 3 and 4, lots of reading to me. We went through the Narnia books. I was a fairly advanced one, so my mom read The Hobbit to me when I was 4, and then she had a baby and I finished Lord of the Rings when I was 5. So read to them. That's a great way, and you don't have to do lesson plans for that.
Laura, go ahead.
I did put lots of links when you get to the links. There's links for all different kinds of curriculum so that you can dabble in them. There's wild schooling, there's Reggio Emilia, there's Montessori, there's even, I put a link in there for a box curriculum that I actually really like, called, Fireflies or something. But if you're someone that needs something sent to you, because some people are like that, then I like that. There's all different kinds of things that you can look into and see what you like.
Excellent. Yeah. And again, those are going to be all in the chat bar. We have a ton of resources. And if you're listening to this after the webinar, we'll have those links in the YouTube description so that you can make sure that you get those. So the next question that I have was actually sent in before, and I think that she sent it in during too. Melissa had asked, she is adding basically, with all the changes, she's going to be taking care of 2 additional school age children, I think it said, and those of you can look at the chat bar to see exactly what she's saying, but she wants to know, talk about like additional money, how much you should charge for that kind of stuff. And Laura, I think that you had said that you could tackle those kind of questions, so I'm going to pass that over to you.
Sure. The first thing I'll say is please listen to in Nanny Care Hub. There's a link to it in the chat bar when you get to it. It's called "Should I Ask for a COVID Raise?" And I'll warn you, it's like an hour and 20 minutes long, but it's really, really good. And it talks about all of those issues. I just listened to the whole thing today, and it's really, really good. But the upshot is, it depends what you're doing. So if you are helping them with virtual schooling and these boys are going to take to it like, really easily, then you might not ask for a whole bunch of extra money because it might not be a whole lot of extra time on your part. If it is virtual learning and they need a whole lot of help, you're spending 2, 3, 4 hours a day helping them with that and doing a lot of supplemental stuff on top of it, then you what you want to do is you want to write things down. This was something that Laura Brawley said that I thought was excellent. Write everything down extra that you're doing and present all those things to your bosses and say, I'm now doing this and this and this. And I think, and don't say, I want this many dollars of a raise, but just say, these are all the extra things that I'm doing per day, and have a discussion about it. So I have seen things for people, especially if you're going to do a full homeschooling thing that's going to be, several hours a day, and you're going to be spending also several hours a day preparing curriculum and planning activities and all those kinds of things, you would want to ask for more. But I'm seeing anywhere from $2 to, what did I see, $2 to maybe $8 an hour of a raise. It might only be for that period of time in which you're teaching. So it doesn't have to be for your entire day. So if you work an 11, 12-hour day like I do, but you're only teaching for, say, 4 or 5 hours, one of the compromises might be that you only ask for the raise during those hours. So it really depends on so many factors. With COVID right now, some families are in a place where they can afford to pay more and some aren't. I mean, there's so many factors when it comes to raises. So I really would point you to that long but really excellent chat of Laura Brawley's on Nanny Care Hub, because I thought it was really great about that.
Excellent. Did anybody else from the group have anything to add to that specific question about raises? Heidi, I think you're talking, but you're on mute.
There we go. I fixed it. I forgot I muted myself. I did see that question come across. I would also say that if you're with an agency, I think this was Jessica who asked this. Oh no, it wasn't. I'm sorry.
It was Melissa.
Melissa, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was reading through the questions now. If you got your position through an agency, maybe contact that agency as well to see what they can help you with. They're a great resource for, especially now, the agencies have been working on getting these, whether they're a private educator or a tutor or a nanny with an education degree. I know in my area that the agencies have been scrambling for the past, I want to say month, and just to figure out what they were going to do. So go to those resources. If you weren't from an agency, maybe reach out to a local agency and just be like, look, I'm not with you, but I have a question because I see that you're posting about pods or virtual learning and things like that. So definitely use those resources that are available to you.
Excellent. That was a good question. Okay, so the next question that came in through the chat bar was from Denny, and she wanted to talk about like what the environment should look like for education. And since Bethany, you are the teacher, what would your ideal environment look like for your kids that are working from home, from virtual learning?
Yeah, so sometimes I will say the environment does depend on the kid. And as a teacher, I think that the child should be able to work wherever they feel comfortable. So I have had students who will work from their bed, or they will sit on the floor, or they will move around and go stand in the kitchen, or wherever they feel comfortable, as long as they are engaging and they are actively listening to their teacher or working on the assignment. I think that the emphasis does not need to be that they are sitting upright at a desk during all hours of their learning. That is not the case for every child. That being said, generally, having a space with a table or a desk or some sort of flat spot that has all their materials nearby, is distraction free. So without pets, without siblings, is generally the best type of area that I've seen where students can feel not distracted, that they can work on their assignments. But that being said, depending on the child's need, if they need to walk around and take a break, sit on the floor, wherever they can be actively engaged.
I have a question for Bethany. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, is it okay, because I know you're talking about like separate, where kids can set up headphones, like if they're in an area, like if a family has a couple of toddlers and a baby, and even if they're in the other room or in a dining room or whatever it is it okay that they wear headphones while during their virtual learning, just so they can tune out, headphones actually listening to the teacher, not to music obviously, but just so they can tune out what other things are around them?
Do you mean headphones as in plugged into the computer, or
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Just to keep out that distraction of what's going on in their household, especially if there's two virtual learners at the same time.
Or three.
Or three.
Or more.
Right, or more. Would you encourage Or would you be, obviously it's okay for children to use those headphones to drown out the other things that are going on.
Oh, absolutely. I think headphones can actually be a great tool because then it is literally in your ears, somebody is talking at you. Kind of hard to tune that out. I think headphones absolutely are a great resource.
Well, go ahead, Bethany.
It was just an anecdote. I was thinking about the multiple people in one room. One of my students this year, when we were online, her and her two sisters were all in the same room during virtual schooling, and they all had their headphones on and they were able to kind of just be in their own little space. They all had their own desk area and they were able to make that work. So that's definitely a great tool.
Yeah, I will add to that. This is Marcia, as a mom of a 6-year-old, well, 5-year-old at the time, who has ADHD. I mean, when he did virtual learning, I had to be right next to him the whole time, but he absolutely needed headphones on.
Yep.
However, I found really quickly, like, I couldn't hear what he was hearing if he had the headphones on. I had to get a splitter. I had to be right there with him. So that's definitely something, if you've got those younger learners, that you might need to invest in, or the parents might need to invest in, so that you can hear everything that the teacher is saying. Otherwise, you're clueless and you can't help. So anyone else on that specific topic about the environment, the learning environment? Yep, Darren, I see your hand up.
I'll just say, as Bethany said, talk with the kids or, figure out what they want. When my family started homeschooling, when I was in 10th or 11th grade, we actually went out and bought desks and bought chairs and set up a schoolroom. And within 2 weeks, they were only used for math. History was done at the table and science was done in the living room because several of us were doing it together. So we'd sit on chairs. So before you go out and invest in a nice big desk system, as good as it looks, make sure the kids will actually use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, I definitely think every child is different. Some kids need that space and some kids need to roam. But okay, so the next question we had was from Melody. And Darren, I'm going to send this one to you first. We might have some other people be able to share, but the question is talking about, like, can you adjust the curriculum that the teacher gives you? I feel like this is maybe more of a legal question. That's why I'm kind of sending it to you. So the question basically was like, what if the curriculum is not really meeting their needs and you need to adjust it? Can you do that? So can you talk legally how that might work?
Sure. And part of that is going to be what Laura started off talking with, of kind of where on the spectrum you are. If you are getting that material from the public school, then you need to either work with the public school and their schedule, or else figure out some other way that it's going to work. And talk with them. They're going to be flexible and work with you, but remember, they are also working with however many other students. So then if you're with kind of a micro school, it kind of depends on how that's set up. If it's a few families working together and it's just not working for the kids who you have care of, maybe you need to look at a different pod or something like that, or a different option. But there you're only dealing with a couple families. So you might be able to say, look, this just isn't working. It's way too slow. My child's already 2 weeks ahead of where we're supposed to be. But if you are homeschooling, well, then you are the boss. And so if the curriculum is not working, then you make adjustments in it to make sure that the child is pushed and challenged and getting a good education, but not overwhelmed or not held way back. So it is very common in the homeschool world, some of my kids, where they are doing like math on a 7th grade level and reading and science and history on a 6th grade level, and spelling, they're still working on some of their 5th grade stuff because that's been a hard thing for them. If you're a homeschooler, you're allowed to do that. Now, I would encourage you, make sure you talk with the parents about that, because legally, they are the ones whose responsibility it is for the education. So I hope that gives kind of a range there of what you can do.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else want to add anything to that point?
I can. So the thing that I would say would be helpful if you feel like you need to make adjustments to the curriculum would be to just kind of keep a log of what the child is working on and kind of how they are doing in that. So either positive or negative. So that way you can have that concrete evidence to look back at, and then you can tie into the parents, speak with the parents, and kind of troubleshoot from there. Whether you're at a public or a private school, to figure out from that end what you need to do about the curriculum to meet that child's needs.
Excellent. Anyone else? I see Heidi would like to add something.
I mean, I'm not for elementary school, but I just want to know that this is new for a lot. I mean, I know Darren does homeschool, and there was a lot of people who did homeschool beforehand, but a lot of this is new to everyone, the children, the teachers, the parents, the nannies, the child caregivers. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error and trying to figure out what works best for each child, and each one of your children may need something different. And so it might take a while to figure out what works best and what doesn't. And unfortunately, we were kind of thrown into this in the last half of the school year, and people kind of just ran with it. But now it's serious because the school year is starting again, and this is it. So I think it's going to be a lot of trial and error, and I would say don't give up and don't get stressed. And I know it's going to be really hard for the caregivers and the parents and the teachers. So just keeping that open line of communication for everyone involved is really important.
Yeah, definitely. You know, talking with the teachers, that's great. Okay. So my next question is I'm going to start off with Darren again, and you're going to have to look at it because it referenced something that I don't know what it is. It was from Jessica. She asked, she's a certified preschool teacher, and her question is, how do you conduct a DRDP, Desired Results Development Profile? And I don't know what that is. Assessment for the family you care for. In a corporate setting, this would go into a child's portfolio. How can I do this as a nanny? The girls I care for are 3 and 5. So you're going to have to enlighten us all, maybe. Maybe I just don't know what that is, and everybody else does.
And I'm sorry, I have never heard of that term.
All right, Jessica is saying
My apologies.
a DRDP is a way to measure milestones. Oh, Laura's going to be able to answer that. Awesome.
Go, Laura.
Okay, it's basically an assessment tool for assessing where your child is on certain all sorts of different levels, and you can find if you can find that exact one online. I'm not exactly sure. You probably can, but you can find many assessment tools that are like that. I know that the curriculum that I have used in the past has those assessment tools that are very similar to that you can fill out and share with the parents. It's almost like a report card, but it's a very, very detailed report card that has, you know, what they're doing. Are they cutting? Do they know their letters? But even beyond that, all the different phonics and everything along those lines. So you can find those online and you can fill those out for your parents. I do that actually for each of my children anyway, from birth on. I have a very detailed developmental checklist that I keep track of, just because I like to know that they're on target with all the development, how many blocks they can stack and all sorts of things. I have multiple pages worth of stuff that I kind of keep a running tab on just to see where they are. And some things, as Darren says, some things the children are way ahead on gross motor skills, and they might be a little behind on fine motor skills, and that's totally fine. That's completely normal. But I like to know what I need to work on and those kinds of things. So they're great things to have on hand. So I don't know if that's very specific one, but you can find ones that are very similar to that online and use those assessment tools. Are great things to have.
So just to clarify, Jessica had said she just wants to know if anyone knows the legality of using it as a nanny versus as a teacher that's, you know, in a school district.
I don't see any problem legally doing it. The question is going to be, once schools open back up, especially if this is a special education student, the school is probably not going to just accept that as gospel truth, and it will want to do its own assessment. And yeah, I mean, go ahead and do it. It's legal, but don't expect that everyone's just going to take your word for it, unfortunately.
Heidi has something to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the legality of it either. I just know as nannies and coming from the nanny side, I know Laura can do this. She does it as well. But most nannies do this in some form or another with their charges, no matter what age they start with. They, you know, that they want to make sure that the parents know that, yes, they've hit these certain milestones, or no, they haven't hit these certain milestones. You know, that's what a lot of nannies do anyway, whether they know they're filling out that form or not, whether they're doing it mentally or they're writing it down. So I think it's the norm in the nanny world. It's just how it's done is differently than the preschool world.
It sounds like that's a teacher form, so maybe that has to be done by a teacher, and that's why it might not be legal. Sounds like, and I don't know the answer.
I don't know. She said, I thought because she said she has 2 kids now. Like she said, hers were 3, so I thought maybe she would be a nanny now. So that I don't know.
Excellent. I can also attest to what Darren said. Even when you have professionals give your children the same test, the school is going to insist on doing their own evaluation regardless. Even if you move from one school to the next, the new school still requires a new evaluation of something. So you can do all of those evaluations, and it's probably helpful for you to know that, but they won't take that as, you know, the answer, because they need to do their own evaluation. Real quick, because this is about the topic, Laura, Denny asked on that specific topic of the evaluations, do you have a website that you like to use for preschool questionnaire, you know, that kind of evaluation? Is there something specific that you...
I've used a couple of different ones, to be honest. I've used the one that comes with the Fireflies curriculum, whatever that comes with that. I've also used the one that comes with the Our Nanny Diary has one that's also very good. Sue Downey and Kelly Garris's company. I've also found some other ones. There's several different ones that you can find, but definitely look for a detailed developmental checklist that starts at birth and usually goes through age 5 or 6, and keep a detailed log. And I just keep that. I use the Our Nanny Diary anyway. I think it's a great tool. It starts at birth and it goes all the way through. There's different levels for keeping track and writing down what goes on every day with your nanny children, and it's incorporated in that right there, so that helps.
Excellent. So the next question that I'm going to move on to was Myra's, and she specifically was asking about ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, and being tested for that. So if you have any suggestions on where to go to do that, but I think a broader question that she sort of brought up was, what do you do for kids that don't want to do the virtual stuff? Like you've tried everything and you just don't know what to do. What are some tips? And I have a feeling that all of you guys will have some tips for that. But let's start with the question about being tested, maybe not specifically for ODD, but for any kind of psychological evaluation. Does anybody have where they start?
That's Bethany.
I know. Well, I was going to say I can share. I've actually just went through this with my son. If you want me to, we started with our children's hospital. We had to start with a family practitioner. Had to get a you know, she had to like say that she has seen some of these, you know, specific things, and that person should be evaluated. And you go through the children's hospital system, and you go through there. Like I said, though, the school district is actually separate. They, you know, he has an IEP, and they do their own evaluation for that is completely separate. But if you're looking for an actual diagnosis of something like ODD or ADD or something like that, you'll definitely want to start with a family practitioner or you know, pediatricians, whoever the primary doctor is, that's the place to start. So but let's go on to that other kind of broader question that you guys might be able to answer. What do you do with those kids that just don't want to learn? They just have no interest in it at all. I have one of those. I am looking for answers.
I can give just a couple tips from what I've found. if the child, part of it just might be the way that the instruction is going. I have several of my kids who learn very well with us sitting and reading the book to them and engaging them in conversation about, do you understand what this is? What if this had changed? You know, would there have been something different in history? Do you understand what this scientific concept is? I've got one who just reads all the stuff herself. She does not want to engage in discussion. She gets it that way. I've got one who, you know, likes the online videos and learning that way because there's interaction face to face. And I've got one who zones out 30 seconds in and, you know, at the 20-minute mark has no idea what's been going on because they need that the face-to-face interaction, not just a video in front of them. So if that is the reason, you know, find a different way to approach the subject.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not the reason, you know, I'm a parent. There are tools that I have that I don't know if you nannies have, as far as setting up consequences for what happens if you don't do your work.
Yeah. I mean, my background, many of you know, is in autism, and I have 2 sons with autism, and I have a background in education in autism, and so I know quite a lot about that. And certainly with ODD, I would recommend seeing a psychiatrist. A child psychiatrist would help with that diagnosis. But the best way to get to children who don't want to learn what's being presented to them is to learn through what their interests are. So one of my children loved trains, you know, so the way to get to him was with trains. So we could learn math through trains, we could learn reading through trains, we could get him to eat through trains. Basically everything had to have trains involved, but if we somehow could figure out a way to get trains, you know, to use trains, we could get him to do it. And you know, we could also, he would do things for stickers. I mean, he was a child that responded really well to positive reinforcement. It's not, I'm a big positive discipline person. Everyone knows I'm a positive discipline parent educator, but for this child, he needed charts, he needed stickers, he needed to earn things. That's what worked for him. And you really have to be specific to the child and figure out what works for each child. And each child is different. Bethany was one of those children that she had to study with people. I mean, so she had study groups, and she always, you know, she couldn't go to her room and learn by herself. That was terrible. She had to have little group studying and that kind of thing. That was her way. But everyone has their own way, and figuring out the way, getting, as Darren said, getting into their head and figuring out what their motivation is and what their, because children do want to learn, they just might not know it. So you kind of have to figure that out a little bit for them, and then give them the carrot that they need, and then they get excited.
Thank you. Anyone else want to answer that at all?
Yep. So the stubborn child is kind of the golden question. We've all struggled with it. I've definitely seen it in my students, and online it can exacerbate that because you are sitting behind a screen and you aren't with your friends and you don't have those manipulatives in front of you. And like my mom was saying, a lot of it is it's going to be based on the child. It's going to be different kid to kid. But generally, children who are struggling to maintain focus or just do not want to do what is being presented to them, a lot of times just giving them a choice on what they're doing, just incorporating some kind of choice can be very helpful. Tying in some kind of hands-on manipulatives or some kind of game that's educational can kind of make them feel like they're not doing such a daunting task. Making sure that they have lots of breaks and listening to their needs and allowing them to move around or to get a snack or just to take a break whenever they need to. And it could be a quick break. They might need a longer break, but just listening to their needs. And then some kids respond very well to reinforcements. So like the sticker chart, or, you know, if you get through this lesson, we can work towards this, and whatever works for that kid and that will appeal to their interests and will incentivize that. It could work really well for some kids. And then again, I think Darren was speaking to this a little bit. There could be an underlying reason why the child is being so oppositional, and it could be a multitude of different things. It could be due to an attention issue. It could be so simple as they don't know how to work the technology, or it could be because they are feeling very behind in the subject and it isn't connecting for them, and they're feeling frustrated. So there could be an underlying issue, and that's something that you just have to pay close attention to the kids' cues to attack that underlying issue, to then have the child feel more comfortable in doing their academic work.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. That was helpful to me. Did you have something?
I just want to add, because I saw the Mariah who asked this question, she was also a nanny. I think that, you know, being on the nanny side of it, you know, it's hard to bring that to parents, that whether this is where the open communication, it comes into play, because if the parents may not have noticed this yet, especially if the child's 5 and hasn't gone to a school setting yet, they may not know. So this is where maybe write some things down. You as the nanny, you don't want to come and say, oh, I think there's something wrong with your child here. This is what's wrong. I'm diagnosing your child. No, you cannot diagnose. You're not a doctor. Yes, you are the child's caregiver. You're with the child for a majority of the day, but you can't diagnose this child. So maybe work with the parents on what to do next. Maybe seeing their, maybe when is their next physical? Maybe we can talk about these certain things. We see a lot more than usually sometimes the parents do, especially if we're with them for a lot longer hours. It's just trying to have that open communication and teamwork with the parents when we're working so closely together. So.
And keep that logbook that Bethany talked about.
Exactly.
Just write down, and don't put any theories, just put specific things on this. At this time he did this, at this time he did that, and that's just pure data.
Exactly. I think that, it's really tough for any parent to hear that there's something wrong with their child. And so we just need to come with kid gloves to the parents, because we don't want to say that there's something wrong and then there actually be nothing wrong. It's just the way that we saw something. We need to be working with the parents as much as they're working with us. So
yeah, excellent. Okay, so the next question I have is from Lisa, and she wants to know if there are specific resources to use to help parents get on the same page, specifically about this teaching during the COVID era, specifically about, like who's responsible for what. And I don't know that there's any specific resources, at least that I'm aware of, but maybe you guys know of some things that are out there to help with that. Does anybody? I'm not exactly sure who to send this one to.
I think Laura more than obviously she's got the.
Do you mean the legal stuff? I'm a little bit confused what the question is.
Sorry, so I'll go back and I'll find the exact question. I just kind of paraphrased it. Let me find it in the.
Work with me all the time.
Are there any specific resources agencies should provide both families and nannies to ensure they are on the same page with regard to the teaching responsibility during COVID?
Wow.
I know that APNA has recently come out with something specific to like how families are operating within COVID. They've got that like level. I can send a link. I can put a link on there to that, but that's not specifically regarding the like teaching responsibility. That's like
also new. We're all scrambling. I know that we put the links in for Darren, I'm sorry, what's the name of the organization that you work with?
Homeschool Legal Defense Association.
Homeschool Legal Defense Association. There's some great information there, and I know we put the links there for that talks about each state and what the responsibilities are for each state. And go through the links that we put through. I know there's a lot of them, but there's some good stuff there. I think people are really scrambling. I mean, this is really only, we've had COVID, what now, for 6 months. And we really don't know what we're doing yet still. So I think, I wish there was a good resource, and maybe we should work on one. I say as the president of the INA. But
Laura Brawley had actually, she had commented that she's actually developing a class around communicating with SAPT, including around learning, and also one around the safety. She's asking about, do we want to?
yes,
Laura, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and share about that, you're welcome to do that.
Hey guys, so sorry, that's around stay-at-home parents. So I'm developing a communication class around guidelines around being together with stay-at-home parents, because pretty much everybody is now a stay-at-home parent, and the nanny, and that includes the learning piece. So guidelines around who's in charge, you know, all those different things. But I'm also developing a class around the safety issues, how you can talk to your employers, and a guide to make sure that you're on the same page. And also the new A to Z nanny contract has all of that included in it, which is hopefully finishing up this weekend. So yeah, I've been working on this COVID stuff since it started. So the safety guidelines are really important around being on the same page, and what happens if somebody gets sick or you decide you're not on the same page, all that good stuff. So you can find all those resources coming up at Nanny Care Hub on Facebook.
That's a great resource. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I'm also putting a link to it's not exactly related to what the question was, but I think it's a helpful resource from APNA, which is APNA is the Association of Premier Nanny Agencies, and they put like a tolerance scale so you can get on the same page with your employers regarding, you know, like how strict they're going to be, so everybody can kind of be on the same level. But that's great. We did have a question, actually. Laura Brawley just mentioned the work from home parents. We had a question from let me see who it is. Raylene. She wanted to talk a little bit about working with parents that are home and how, you know, that stressful is. I actually put on the Zoom chat bar, we actually had a COVID support webinar on this back in May. So I put a link to that. I hope that you find that helpful. But is there anything you guys would want to add real quick? Because we are running out of time a little bit. This is such a great topic. Lots of questions, lots of information. But is there anything you guys wanted to add specifically about working with parents that are home? It's tough.
I would just say communication. You cannot communicate enough with your nanny family. I was sick this week, and I communicated with my, I work for a single mom, and she had to work, so I had to go into work. It wasn't COVID, but you know, but we worked it out, and I got to come in late and leave early, and she was so happy that I did that, and she gave me a, you know, $100 Target gift card, you know, for coming in while sick. But we have such a good open communication. We talk about everything, and so that's to me so great. We don't have resentments toward each other. We always know what the other, you know, we talk about what we need, and she really needed to work part of the day, even though I was sick, so I was willing to go in and work while sick. She told me to take it easy, so all I did was take care of the kids. I didn't worry about the dishes and the laundry and all that stuff. She did that stuff. But that's the kind of communication we have. And there's lots of days that I go above and beyond, you know, as well when I'm feeling, you know, well. So I think it's tough. It is tough. My mom boss works at home most of the day, and then she leaves some of the day. But you have to talk. You talk about what works and what doesn't work, and you talk to them, and they talk to you, and you come up with solutions that work for both of you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to Laura's correct. Open communication is vital. In my 20+ years, I have worked with stay-at-home parents in some capacity or another. I actually don't know how it would be to work with parents who left the house to go to a 9-to-5 job. I would not know what to do with myself. So it is, and I actually just talked to my boss about this not too long ago. And we were away and flew safely and everything like that. We took precautions. And you know, we talked about it as like, it's like a marriage. You like, there has to be that open communication, because if you hold that resentment, either you or them, that's where there's going to be some conflict. So you need to sit down in the beginning and every few months, and especially now with what's going on and the things that are changing, sit down and have that plan on what's going to happen. If parents are home and you have to now take care of the children with parents at home, what are the expectations? If the parents are going to be taking business calls and they don't want a distraction, maybe then the parents are going to have to move to another room, because that's on the parent. The parent can move to another room, the child cannot. But also include the parents. I have said this, Laura Brawley and I have had a discussion before on a few of our Zoom chats about including the parents. If you are doing something and you know the parents are on a break, or if they're just doing whatever, include them in your scavenger hunt, or you're cooking your lunch, or reading. Show that child that it is a cohesive team unit, because in the end, it's the child that will either suffer or strive from it. And again, it'll be your working relationship that'll crumble. And just like a marriage, it will fall apart. So, and also keep your contract up to date. If there's something changing, work on that contract and maybe say, hey, look, you know, when I started 2 years ago, this was not the norm. Let's go back and discuss what we're going to do now. Also, while we're updating our contract, because you're home a lot more and I'm teaching virtual teaching or something like that, maybe you guys, you know, have a certain time or a certain space for these certain calls, so that way me and the kids can do what we need to do, because kids aren't quiet. That's, I mean, it's just, it's not feasible, you know. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, so I believe that I got all the questions that are in the chat bar. I know I had somebody who has had their hand raised, and I had wondered if they had a question or if that was an accident. Sue Barrowclift, if you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself. Anyone else that hasn't been able to ask a question via the chat bar for whatever reason, please go ahead and unmute yourself now, and hopefully it won't get too crazy. Some people just prefer to ask the question verbally too. Let's see. Any questions? Anyone have any questions at this point? I feel like they answered a lot of things, and then if not, maybe we'll just kind of have a closing statement from each of you guys. Darren, why don't I have you go ahead? If there's anything else that came up that you've just, you know, got to say, please just, you know, let us know. If not, we appreciate your time.
Sure. I would just say, take a look at the link that I sent, the one that ends with legal. It gives a map, talks about the homeschool laws in each state. It's not as confusing as it looks, but it will help you if you're doing the private part of teaching the kids.
Excellent. Thank you. Heidi, did you have anything else that you wanted to add as we close up here? You're on mute.
Hit it again. I just want to say that I think it's great that this is available because of the fact that people are asking the questions. We see it in the nanny groups. I've seen it in the mommy groups. I'm actually excited to post, you know, to be able to filter some of the mommies in my area, because they don't know what to do. But just don't stress. Take a step back. We're all in it together. We're all going to figure it out together, but just ask those questions, ask your parents the questions, ask your agencies the questions, and ask other nannies questions to help what to do next. And, you know, with all the resources that we have out there, it's going to work out. It's just going to be a little bit bumpy for a while.
Yeah. And I'm fairly certain that if there's questions that come up that are not answered in this, I think that you can send them to member services at nanny.org, and we will make sure that if we have the answer, one of these 4 experts here will share that, and if not, we can try to point you in a direction to do that. Bethany, did you have anything that you wanted to add as we kind of close up?
My only closing thing is just be kind to yourself, be kind to others. You know, we're all new to this. The teachers are still figuring it out too. So just, you know, make sure to prioritize self-care, and with the kids as well, just taking care of yourselves.
For sure. Kindness is huge right now. There's just so much going on and everyone is stressed. And I know that kindness to our teachers that are just doing the best they can because they don't know what's going on either. Parents who are stressed out, who want the best for their kids, and then other nannies that are, you know, doing it differently too. It's definitely true. Laura, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
You know I do. I wanted to thank Darren especially for coming out and meeting the nanny world. I really appreciated you doing that. And Bethany, for giving up your Saturday night. I know 24-year-olds don't like to do that. And for all of you that joined us today, I really appreciate you coming and asking questions and sharing your time with us. Whether you're an INA member or not, I really encourage you to reach out, and I'm at president@nanny.org. If you have any questions or if you have anything that you would like to suggest to the INA, my door is always open. We are here to make nanny life better for everybody. So I really encourage you to reach out. We are trying to really make strides to especially during this time, to make it better for everybody. And so our door is open for everyone to help make the world better for children. That's really what we're here for. We're all here to make the world better for children. And that's what we really care about is children. And so if we can do that, if we can help you do that, my door is open. I know Marcia's door is open. Whether you're a member or not, we're here for you. So thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for everybody's time. I think this is a great conversation, not only for nannies, but I love the fact that Heidi, you talked about it being, you know, parents are asking these questions, and it's good for them to see it, this side of it too. So thanks everybody. Again, if you have any questions, you can contact Laura at president@nanny.org. General questions for everybody, member services at nanny.org. And we just really appreciate your time. So good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.